Friends, we often think that trouble comes from the world, problems at work, family conflicts, or traffic jams. But let me tell you a secret. The real trouble begins when we start talking ourselves into it. When we replay worries, doubts, and negative thoughts again and again, we create storms in our own mind, and the sad part is we do it ourselves. Today, I want to help you see how your words, especially the ones you whisper to yourself, can either be your biggest jailer or your greatest liberator. Have you ever noticed that the words we speak to ourselves have a power far greater than we realize? It's almost magical and at the same time terrifying how the sentences we whisper in our own mind can shape the very reality we live in. Imagine this: every thought, every phrase you repeat to yourself is like a tiny seed planted in the soil of your mind. If you speak words of fear, doubt, and limitation, these seeds grow into tall, dark trees that block the sunlight of your happiness and peace. But if you choose words of hope, encouragement, and possibility, even the smallest whisper can blossom into a strong, beautiful tree that supports you, lifts you, and creates a life full of opportunity. Many of us are unaware of how cruel we can be to ourselves. We wake up in the morning, and before the day even begins, our mind starts to chatter. You can't do this. You're not good enough. You always fail. What if something goes wrong? These are not just harmless thoughts. They are like invisible architects, quietly constructing walls that confine our potential. And the sad part is, most of the time, no one else is saying these things to us. It's just our own mind, our own words, talking us into trouble. But here's the beautiful part. Just as words can trap us, they can also set us free. The power lies in recognizing that you are the gardener of your own mind. You can choose which seeds to water, which thoughts to nurture, and which ones to pluck out before they take root. Start speaking to yourself with kindness, with hope, with belief. Encourage yourself as you would encourage a dear friend. When you stumble, instead of saying, "I'm a failure," say, "I'm learning, I'm growing, I'll do better next time." These small shifts in inner conversation may feel subtle at first, but over time, they transform your mental landscape completely. Your words have the power to create your reality. They are the architects of your destiny. So ask yourself today, are the seeds you are planting helping you grow, or are they silently building a cage around you? Because the truth is, you have always had a choice. You can either be your own jailer or your own greatest supporter. And that choice begins with the words you speak to yourself every single day. Have you ever noticed how our mind loves to ask what if? It's one of the most powerful and quietly dangerous traps we can fall into. The moment something even slightly uncertain appears in our life, our mind immediately starts running in circles. What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if something goes wrong? And before we know it, we're living in a world that doesn't even exist yet. A world built entirely out of fear, worry, and imagination. It's like sitting in a rocking chair, moving your legs furiously, thinking you're going somewhere, but in reality, you remain stuck in the same place. This constant what if thinking not only drains our energy, but it also clouds our judgment and steals our joy. We miss the beauty of today because we are so busy rehearsing disasters of tomorrow. And the funny and sad thing is that 90% of these fears never even come true. We spend hours, days, even years preparing ourselves for problems that never arrive. And in doing so, we forget to live the life we actually have. The danger is that overthinking builds momentum. One what if leads to another, and suddenly you're carrying a mountain of invisible problems on your shoulders. Your heart beats faster. Your stomach knots, your mind spins in endless loops, and you start making decisions not from clarity but from fear. It's exhausting. And the worst part is, often we don't even realize that we are doing it to ourselves. We think the worry is helpful, as if imagining every possible disaster will somehow protect us, but in truth, it only creates more suffering. The way to break free from this trap is to become aware of the voice that whispers what if, and to gently question it. Ask yourself, is this thought serving me, or is it stealing my peace? Then consciously choose to focus on what you can control in this moment, rather than imagining every possible negative outcome. Your energy is precious, And every moment spent living in hypothetical fears is a moment wasted. Life doesn't wait for us to solve all the what ifs. Life simply happens. And the secret to happiness is to participate in life, not to rehearse disasters that may never arrive. Remember, uncertainty is a part of life. It is not the enemy, it is the teacher. It invites creativity, courage, and growth. But if we let what if dominate our thoughts, it becomes a prison. So the next time your mind starts spinning with what if, take a deep breath, step back, and remind yourself, the only moment I truly have is this one, and I will give it my full attention, not waste it chasing shadows. Many of us don't realize just how quietly dangerous negative self-talk can be. It sneaks in like a soft whisper at first, almost unnoticed, but over time, it builds a narrative in our mind that shapes how we see ourselves, how we interact with the world, and even the choices we make. Every time you say, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, or why bother, it will never work out, you are slowly building invisible walls around yourself. Walls that limit your potential, your confidence, and your happiness. And the most alarming part is that these words don't come from anyone else. They come from within. You are your own harshest critic, your own toughest judge, and often your own biggest obstacle. It's fascinating how the mind works. When we repeat something often enough, even if it's not true, our subconscious begins to accept it as fact. A small thought of doubt becomes a voice of certainty. And before we know it, we start acting as though we really are limited, really are incapable, really are unworthy. These thoughts shape our behavior, our decisions, and ultimately our reality. It's like carrying around a heavy backpack full of bricks. Each negative word is a brick, and each day the backpack gets heavier until walking forward feels impossible. But here's the empowering truth. Just as negative self-talk can imprison us, positive self-talk can set us free. The voice in your mind is not your enemy, it is a tool. And like any tool, it works according to how you use it. You can choose to nurture it with kindness, encouragement, and hope, or you can allow it to tear you down. Every time you replace a thought like I can't with I will try, or I am not enough with I am learning and growing, you are gently loosening the chains around yourself. You are building a life where courage, confidence, and happiness can thrive. The key is awareness. Begin to notice the internal conversations you are having. Catch the moments when your mind is critical or dismissive and pause. Speak to yourself as you would speak to someone you love deeply, with compassion, encouragement, and patience. Remind yourself of your strengths, your achievements, and the progress you've made. Over time, these small, deliberate shifts in your inner dialogue accumulate, transforming the way you experience life. Negative self-talk is a silent enemy, but it is not invincible. You have the power to change the story, to reshape the inner narrative, and to create a mental environment where you can flourish. And the moment you start doing this, you realize that the greatest supporter you could ever have in life has always been inside you, waiting for you to listen and speak kindly to yourself. Have you ever noticed how often we accept every thought that comes into our mind as if it were truth? Our minds are constantly chattering, and many times we don't stop to question the stories they are telling us. We think, this is just how I feel, so it must be real, or I've always thought this way, so it must be true. But here's the truth. Not every thought is helpful, not every thought is accurate, and certainly not every thought deserves your attention. Some thoughts are simply tricks, illusions, or patterns we have picked up over time that no longer serve us. And yet, we believe them. We take them seriously. We let them guide our actions, shape our emotions, and influence our decisions. And all the while, they may be leading us into unnecessary trouble. The first step to freedom is awareness. You must become an observer of your own mind. Someone who can step back and say, wait a minute, is this thought helping me? Or is it hurting me? This simple question has the power to change everything. When you learn to pause and examine your thoughts, you begin to see that many of them are exaggerations, assumptions, or fears dressed up as truth. And once you see them clearly, You gain the ability to decide which thoughts to follow and which ones to let go of. Think about it. How often have you worried yourself sick over something that never happened? How many sleepless nights have you endured because your mind convinced you of a problem that wasn't real, or magnified a small difficulty into a catastrophe? All of this comes from accepting thoughts uncritically, from believing every whisper of fear or doubt. But when you start questioning, when you start separating what is helpful from what is harmful, you reclaim your power. You stop being a passive passenger in your own mind and start becoming the conscious driver of your life. It's not always easy. The mind is clever and persistent. The negative thoughts, the self-doubt, the fears, they will keep coming back. But the difference now is that you no longer react automatically. You create a gap between the thought and your response. In that gap, you can choose. You can decide to nurture thoughts that encourage, uplift, and empower you. And you can gently release the ones that bring fear, anxiety, or despair. Over time, this practice rewires your mental patterns, strengthens your resilience, and allows you to navigate life with clarity and calm. Remember, not every thought deserves your attention, but every thought deserves to be noticed. Observe it, question it, and then choose wisely. The more you do this, the less your mind becomes a source of trouble, and the more it becomes a source of guidance, creativity, and joy. Your thoughts are powerful, but your awareness is even more powerful. Once you harness that awareness, you will see that peace, clarity, and happiness were never outside your reach. They were waiting for you inside, in the simple act of noticing and choosing which thoughts to follow. There is a wisdom in silence that we often overlook. In our modern lives, we have become addicted to constant noise. Noise from our phones, from social media, from the endless chatter around us, and even from our own minds. We are so used to filling every moment with words, thoughts, and opinions that we forget the power of simply being still. And yet, some of the most profound solutions, insights, and peace come to us not when we speak or act, but when we pause and allow the silence to do its work. Think about it. How many times have we spoken too soon, reacted too quickly, or shared our worries before even understanding them ourselves? Often, in the heat of the moment, words become arrows that we shoot without aiming. And the result, hurt feelings, misunderstandings, and even bigger problems than the ones we started with. Silence, on the other hand, gives us space. It allows us to breathe, to reflect, and to see the situation clearly. It is in silence that we gain perspective, where our hearts and minds align, and where wisdom begins to emerge. The beauty of silence is that it is not emptiness, it is fullness. It is full of observation, understanding, and quiet strength. When you resist the urge to speak every worry or every complaint, you create a space where clarity can grow. You stop feeding unnecessary arguments, and you prevent your mind from spinning stories that may not even be true. Silence allows the storm inside to settle, revealing the calm waters beneath, and it is often in that calm that the best decisions are made. Practicing silence is not about shutting down communication or avoiding challenges. It is about choosing when to engage and when to pause. It is about understanding that not every thought needs to be expressed, not every fear needs to be verbalized, and not every problem needs to be argued. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is nothing at all. Not reacting does not mean weakness, it means strength. It means self-control, mindfulness, and the courage to let life unfold at its own pace. When we embrace silence, we also embrace self-awareness. We begin to notice our patterns of reaction, the triggers that disturb our peace, and the habitual words that drag us into unnecessary trouble. In that stillness, we can choose our responses rather than being driven by impulse. We discover that life does not always require noise. It requires attention, patience, and presence. And as we cultivate this practice, we realize that silence is not a void. It is a powerful force that protects our peace, nurtures our wisdom, and allows us to respond to life with grace rather than chaos. So the next time you feel the urge to immediately speak, react, or share your worries, pause. Take a deep breath. Step into the silence even for a moment. Let your mind and heart find clarity before your words find their way out. In silence, you will discover that you do not need to create trouble. Life, when met with calm and mindful attention, flows with far more ease than you ever imagined. Have you ever noticed how often we limit ourselves with the words we speak to our own hearts? We have a habit of saying, "I can't," before we even try. We place boundaries around our potential, drawing invisible lines in the sand, thinking that failure is inevitable. And the irony is that these boundaries don't exist in the world. They exist only in our mind. Every time we tell ourselves we are incapable, we are quietly convincing our own spirit that we are powerless, that the challenges ahead are mountains too high to climb. But the truth is, these words, though small, carry enormous weight. They shape our courage, our motivation, and ultimately our destiny. When we say, "I can't," we are doing more than expressing doubt. We are programming ourselves for defeat. Our brain hears the words and responds. Our body reacts. Our energy diminishes. And even opportunities that might have been possible slip through our fingers. And yet, the solution is surprisingly simple. We must change the way we talk to ourselves. We must shift from "I can't" to "I can try." This simple change opens doors in our mind that we didn't even realize were there. It transforms fear into curiosity, hesitation into action, and doubt into possibility. Think about it. The world is filled with stories of people who achieved the impossible, but none of them began by saying, "I can't." They began by daring to try, by believing that even if the path was uncertain, they had the courage to take the first step. And the beauty of trying is that even if we stumble, we learn. Even if we fall, we grow. Every attempt, every effort, every brave step forward adds strength to our character, wisdom to our experience, and momentum to our journey. Saying "I can try" is not a guarantee of success, but it is a guarantee that we are moving, learning, and living fully. The words we choose to speak to ourselves are like seeds planted in our inner garden. "I can" produces fear, limitation, and hesitation. "I can try" produces courage, possibility, and growth. Over time, these small choices compound. When we consistently speak to ourselves with encouragement rather than limitation, we start to notice that our mind becomes more resilient, our confidence grows, and challenges feel less intimidating. We discover that life is not about avoiding failure, it is about stepping forward despite fear, with the belief that we are capable of learning, adapting, and thriving. So, the next time you hear that little voice saying, "I can't," pause and respond with kindness, patience, and courage. Say, "I can try. I can take one step. I can do my best." These words may seem small, almost insignificant, but they are powerful. They have the ability to change your mindset, to shift your energy, and to open doors that once seemed locked. Remember, the journey of life is not measured by perfection or certainty. It is measured by courage, effort, and the willingness to try again and again. And it all begins with the words we speak to ourselves. How often do we carry the weight of our past mistakes like heavy backpacks, dragging them with us everywhere we go? It is astonishing how much energy we waste replaying failures, regrets, or embarrassing moments over and over in our minds, as if ruminating on them will somehow change what has already happened. But the truth is, no amount of worry, guilt, or self-criticism can rewrite the past. Every mistake is done, every misstep is behind us, and yet we cling to them as if they define us. And the sad part is, we often let these past experiences dictate our present and limit our future. The first step to freedom is to recognize that you are not your failures. You are not the mistakes you made yesterday, nor are you the moments where you stumbled. Those events were simply experiences, lessons disguised as setbacks, teachers disguised as difficulties. Every time we make an error, our life is giving us an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to do better next time. But if we choose to dwell on the mistake instead of embracing the lesson, we imprison ourselves unnecessarily. We let regret become a chain that keeps us from moving forward. It is important to remember that life is not measured by how perfect our journey has been, but by how we respond to imperfection. Every person you admire, every successful individual has a past filled with mistakes. What makes them remarkable is not that they never failed, but that they refuse to let their failures define them. They learned from their experiences, adapted, and kept moving forward with courage and determination. And that is exactly what we are capable of too, if only we choose to shift our perspective. Instead of replaying the past, we can reframe it. We can look at our mistakes with curiosity rather than shame, with understanding rather than judgment. Ask yourself, what did this experience teach me? How can I grow from it? How can I use it to become stronger and wiser? When you do this, every failure transforms into a stepping stone toward greater resilience, confidence, and wisdom. The past no longer becomes a burden, it becomes a teacher, guiding you quietly toward your best self. And here is the most powerful part: letting go of the past allows you to fully inhabit the present. When you stop defining yourself by yesterday's errors, you free your mind, your heart, and your energy to focus on what truly matters, the actions you take today. Today is your opportunity to plant seeds of courage, kindness, and purpose. Today is your chance to build the life you want, without the shadows of yesterday holding you back. Life is always moving forward, and so should you. Don't let the echo of past mistakes prevent you from stepping boldly into the future that awaits you. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for our minds to get caught up in problems rather than solutions? We wake up in the morning and almost instinctively we start listing everything that is wrong in our life, what didn't go as planned yesterday, what might go wrong today, and all the things that are beyond our control. Our minds become like a storm, filled with worries, complaints, and imagined disasters, and we convince ourselves that thinking about all the problems will somehow help us prep or protect ourselves. But the truth is, dwelling endlessly on problems rarely leads to solutions. Instead, it drains our energy, clouds our judgment, and often makes small challenges feel much bigger than they actually are. The key to transforming our experience is simple yet profound: focus on solutions, not problems. When we shift our attention from what's wrong to what can be done, we change our entire approach to life. The mind that constantly complains becomes the mind that innovates, that creates, and that finds possibilities where others see obstacles. Every problem has within it the seed of opportunity. But the seed can only grow when we direct our energy toward action and solutions, rather than spinning in circles of worry and doubt. Think of your mind as a garden. If you plant seeds of worry, fear, and negativity, you will inevitably grow weeds that choke your happiness and peace. But if you plant seeds of action, creativity, and hope, and nurture them with consistent effort, solutions will begin to bloom. The process may take time, and it may not always be easy, but the results are far more rewarding than anything that comes from endlessly rehearsing problems. Every small step toward a solution, no matter how tiny, is a victory, because it breaks the cycle of helplessness and gives your mind a sense of control and purpose. Focusing on solutions also transforms our emotional experience. When we obsess over problems, we feel anxious, stressed, and defeated. But when we actively search for solutions, we feel empowered, motivated, and alive. Even in situations that are difficult or uncertain, solution-oriented thinking creates a sense of possibility. It tells us that no matter what life throws our way, we have the ability to respond with creativity, courage, and intelligence. And over time, this habit becomes second nature. Our minds no longer panic at obstacles. Instead, they ask, what can I do next? How can I make this better? The beautiful truth is that solutions are always available. Sometimes we just need to change where we focus our attention. Problems exist, yes, but they do not define us. What defines us is how we respond to them. By focusing on solutions instead of problems, we take back control of our mind, protect our peace, and cultivate a life filled with resilience and hope. Life will always have challenges, but your mindset determines whether those challenges crush you or teach you, whether they trap you or propel you forward. When you make solutions your focus, every difficulty becomes a stepping stone, every challenge an opportunity, and every day a chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more capable than you were yesterday. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to focus on what's missing in our lives, on what's wrong, or on what we wish were different? Our minds have a natural tendency to dwell on complaints, to replay grievances, and to measure our lives against some imagined standard. And in doing so, we forget one of the most powerful tools for inner peace and happiness: gratitude. Gratitude is not just a polite response to life's blessings, it is a transformative force that shapes the way we think, feel, and act. When we practice gratitude in our inner dialogue, when we whisper thanks to ourselves for even the smallest joys, the simplest comforts, and the lessons learned from challenges, our entire perspective shifts. Imagine your mind as a vast room. If all you do is focus on what's broken, what's missing, or what's unfair, the room feels dark, cramped, and heavy. But when you shine the light of gratitude on even the smallest things, your health, your loved ones, your breath, your ability to learn, the room fills with warmth, clarity, and energy. Gratitude creates mental space for joy, resilience, and creativity. It does not deny the difficulties of life. It simply gives them context, reminding us that even in the hardest moments, there are things to be thankful for, lessons to learn, and strength to gain. The magic of gratitude lies in its ability to transform our inner conversations. Instead of saying, "Why me? Why is this happening to me?" we can ask, "What is this teaching me? What can I appreciate even in this challenge?" Every moment of conscious appreciation rewires the mind, strengthening neural pathways that support positivity, calm, and hope. Over time, this practice changes how we perceive life itself. We no longer see the world as a place that constantly threatens us. Instead, we see it as a place that constantly offers opportunities to grow, to love, and to learn. Practicing gratitude also protects us from the trap of negative self-talk. When we focus on what we are thankful for, our inner critic loses its power. The voice that says, "You're not enough," or "You'll never succeed," begins to fade in the background as we replace it with reminders of our strengths, our accomplishments, and the good that surrounds us. Gratitude is like a shield for the mind. It does not remove challenges, but it strengthens us to face them with courage and composure. And here is the most beautiful part: gratitude multiplies. The more we notice and appreciate, the more we find to be grateful for. One small thought of thanks leads to another, and soon our inner world becomes a place of abundance rather than scarcity, of peace rather than chaos. When we speak words of gratitude to ourselves, we are not only changing our mood in the moment, we are reshaping our life story, turning a narrative of lack into a narrative of richness and possibility. So make it a habit to whisper gratitude to yourself every day, in every circumstance. Thank yourself for trying, for learning, for being present, and for growing. Thank life for the small joys that often go unnoticed. Over time, you will notice a profound shift. Your mind will become lighter, your heart fuller, and your journey through life far more peaceful. Gratitude is not just a practice, it is a way of speaking to yourself with love, respect, and awareness, and it has the power to transform your inner world completely. Have you ever stopped to consider the incredible power that your own words hold? Not the words you speak to others, but the ones you whisper to yourself every single day. Every sentence, every thought, every internal comment is like a brushstroke painting the canvas of your life. The words you choose to speak to yourself are not harmless, they are the architects of your reality. If you speak with kindness, encouragement, and hope, your life begins to reflect those qualities. If you speak with criticism, doubt, or fear, your life subtly begins to mirror it as well. The words you say to yourself build the house in which your mind and spirit live. And so it is worth asking, are you building a home of strength, peace, and possibility, or one of limitation, worry, and pain? The challenge is that most of us are unaware of just how often we speak to ourselves negatively. We replay mistakes, worry about the future, compare ourselves to others, and criticize ourselves for things we cannot change. And we do it quietly, almost unconsciously, as if our inner voice were immune to consequence. But the truth is that inner dialogue is incredibly potent. It shapes your confidence, your decisions, your resilience, and even your happiness. Every time you say, "I can't, I'm not enough," or "this is impossible," you are quietly planting seeds of limitation in you. Our mind, Over time, those seeds grow into barriers that block your progress, your peace, and your potential. The good news is that just as your words can limit you, they can also empower you. The moment you begin speaking words of encouragement, appreciation, and belief to yourself, you start to reshape your inner world. When you say, I am capable, I can learn, I will try, or I am enough, you are building an inner foundation of courage, resilience, and hope. These are not mere phrases, they are powerful affirmations that influence your thoughts, emotions, and actions. And as you repeat them, as you live them, they become a natural part of your inner dialogue, replacing the negative patterns that once held you back. Think of it like constructing a home. Every word you speak to yourself is a brick. Choose bricks of self-love, self-respect, and optimism, and you build a strong, beautiful structure capable of withstanding storms. Neglect that, and the walls are weak, fragile, and prone to collapse under pressure. The house of your mind is built daily, brick by brick, word by word, and the moment you take conscious control of your inner language, you become the architect of your own destiny, shaping a life that is aligned with your highest potential. But this is not just about positive thinking. It is about mindful speaking to yourself with intention and awareness. It is about noticing the moments when doubt, fear, or self-criticism arise and choosing to respond differently. It is about treating yourself with the same care, compassion, and encouragement that you would offer to someone you deeply love. And the results are profound. Clarity replaces confusion, courage replaces hesitation, and peace replaces anxiety. So let every word you speak to yourself be deliberate, empowering, and uplifting. Your inner voice,